Hey, here I am and welcome back. It's another hot day today, so I've got the air conditioning turned on for the first time this year.
Ooh, I feel like I'm melting.
In today's video, I'm going to try and make my own sketchbook. I bought this bookmaking kit from Temu. I think it was about 40 euros. I'm currently working on 3 sketchbooks all at the same time because... Why am I doing that? Because I like the feeling of starting a new sketchbook, and I also like the feeling of finishing a sketchbook. And with these, they have so many pages that it just takes me too long. So my idea is to make a sketchbook with less pages that I can maybe finish in one trip away, maybe finish in a week if I go on a sketching trip. So that's the plan. I've taken everything out of the box, and the first thing that I've noticed is a pair of scissors. This could be for glue, a craft knife. I think this one is for punching the holes through the paper before you sew it. This looks like another poker, but it's got like a needle end on it. And in here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 needles. This is a bone folder for folding the paper. And this is, I bent my nail back. Oh, it's very sharp. A thimble. And these are for like threading thread, bulldog clips, curved needles to sew the pages together, a metal ruler of 8 inches, all of the threads. I'm probably going to just use the white, but look at this one. It looks like licorice. Could almost eat that, couldn't you? Some material for binding the book together. I'm not sure what this is used for, but there's a lot of it, so must be important. What's in here? This is, what is this? An empty bag. Okay, I'm going to put all of my tools in there. Useful. Oh, another one, another brush. Probably use that for the glue. And here we have the cardboard for making the cases. 2 of those. And finally we have this like book squasher thing. A book press. Right, so let's put this together. It's very light, feels like a chopping board actually. Got to say, I'm not an experienced bookmaker, but I think this seems like quite a comprehensive kit from Temu. Okay, so let's put some washers on here. Oh, look at that! That was fun, I liked that. Can I do it again? Yeah! Whee! Like that. Oh, power cut. It's all right, I've got a candle. Okay, I've got the light back. I'm just going to put these nuts on the bolts and finish off putting this book press together. Here I am doing some research into how to actually make a book, because I've never made one before. I took 4 pieces of this watercolor paper that was given to me. I'm not sure what brand it is because it was a gift. So I'm taking out my bone creaser and my steel ruler there, which I don't think is steel, it's probably aluminium. Folding all of the pages in half and creasing them with this bone folder, which is very useful. And then I wanted a nice rustic look, so instead of cutting the pages, I decided to tear them. But to keep them nice and straight, I did use my ruler as a guide. I didn't want this perforated edge, so I scored down the edge and then creased it again with that bone folder and just tore it off with my fingers, and that gave a nice little rustic edge. But as the other 2 sides were completely straight, I did this laborious task of taking ½ centimeter off each side. And then I repeated that on all 4 pieces of paper, and then I folded those in half and creased them to create my pages for my book. You'll see there that some of the edges aren't exactly straight, but I don't mind because I wanted this rustic look anyway. After I creased them and folded them, I marked out where I was going to make my holes, and the pages were 17 centimeters wide, so I made holes at 1 centimeter, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 14 and 16, and I left a 3 centimeter gap in the middle. So I took out my cutting board and used this so that I could make all of these holes really nicely. And then I widened them up with the other tool and used this as a guide for all of my other pieces of paper. So I just placed one behind the other and poked through again, and then widened them all again as necessary. And there you can see all of my pages all have the same holes, which is perfect. So I'm taking the string here, giving a generous start and then measuring a length for each page and then giving a generous end as well. This is already waxed, which is very handy, which means I don't need to do it. If it's waxed, it means it's a little bit stronger. Then I cut myself 3 equal lengths of this, I don't know what it's called, bookbinding fabric, I'm not sure. And then I went through the first hole. I didn't tie a knot, I just went through, laid that down on top and went over the top of it. So every time you come through the back of the book, that's when you lay down one of these pieces of fabric or cloth or whatever you're using. Making sure that was nicely pulled tight. And then I brought across the next piece of paper and put that underneath as well. Going through the first and closest hole to where you finished, and you repeat the same process. Only this time when you cross a piece of fabric, you need to go underneath the previous stitch of the other page. And then you just continue as normal and repeat that every single time. The YouTube tutorial that I followed for making this book was by Leslie Strauss, and she does a really good, clear tutorial. This is a much more condensed version of her explanations, but I just wanted to show you how the process went for me. When you get to the end of that page, you need to pull the both ends of the thread really tight, and this is what's called a signature, all of this threading at the back. So you repeat the same process again on this next pages, these next pieces of paper. What I think is really good about making your own sketchbook is you can use whatever paper you want. If you have a favorite kind of paper, use that. It's great. The only difference is when you get to the end of this signature, so this threading of this paper, you need to take your needle and go underneath the thread that's holding the first 2 pages together, and then pull that until you get a little loop, and then pass the needle through that loop, and that will create a knot that will hold all of the pages together and keep it nice and strong. So there I am going through that loop now and pulling that tight. Make sure that you keep your thread tight throughout the whole book as well. You don't want any loose ends going on. So I'm just repeating the process throughout all the rest of this. Every signature is the same from here on out until you get to the very, very end. And then you're going to do the loop that I just showed you then, where you pass through the loop to create a knot. But you do that twice just to really make it secure. Here I am doing that for you. I didn't really leave enough thread, so make sure you leave a generous amount at the start and at the end, because that was quite difficult for me to do. Cut off the loose ends. And there you go. Look, it's starting to look like a book. Everything is opening and the pages are flowing as they should. Now I'm taking some glue. I'm just using PVA glue. You can use other kinds if you like, if you have something more special. And I'm coating these bits of fabric and pulling them really tight and gluing them down. And that's going to help keep this book all held together. I'm just cutting off some loose ends there because I'm fussy like that. Did the same on the other side, pulled it really tight and laid it down. And then I went over the back as well, over all of the threads, and then I left it overnight. We're now on day 3 of creating my own sketchbook, and I left it out to dry overnight, so let's take a look at it. I don't know how tidy or how it's really supposed to look, but this looks like it's holding up, doing quite a good job here on the back. The threading, I think it looks quite nice. This all looks very intact. I'm quite happy with that. I think that looks really nice. Let's take off the bulldog clips. I don't know which side's the front or the back. Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter. So let's see. Looks like a book. It seems to be holding together very well. I'm really quite impressed with myself. I might have to make more. It feels like a book. Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. Right, so now I need to put on the case, I think. Maybe I need to use some of this. How exciting! To create the cover, I used this cardboard that came in the Temu kit, just using my ruler to make sure there's a little bit of an overlap at the edge, marking out where I want the edges of the cover to be, and then cutting it out with the craft knife. It took me 3 passes to get through the cardboard, but it wasn't difficult at all. Then I repeated the same process to create a front cover and a back cover, and then we have something of similar sizes. I think they look about right. Just testing the size with the paper. Then I'm not sure what this is for, actually, so I decided to use it to add a bit of interest to the cover. So I measured it out and cut some to size, took that PVA glue again, and then just laid it on top. Once that had dried, I cut off the corners because I'm going to wrap this over. On this first one, I think I cut the corners a little bit too close, as you'll see in a moment. Just adding the glue there and folding it over. And now here you'll see there's a gap right on the corners and it should be meeting. So when I did the other cover, I made sure to leave a little bit of extra space, which worked a lot better, as you'll see now. It's all overlapped and it's all covered much better. You can see them side by side there. While that's drying, I'm going to clean the table a little bit. Now I forgot to turn the camera on, I'm really annoyed, but I used this stencil and some watercolor to add a little bit of interest and to remind me which is the front cover and which is the back cover. I think it looks really cute. Now covering the covers and the first pages in glue, I'm using this other brush because I wanted to try and use as much of the kit as possible. Covered that in glue, put a little bit of plastic underneath to stop me getting glue on the other pages. Making sure to get a nice even thick coat of glue on there and then placing it on top. I did the same process for the other cover as well. And then I placed it inside my book press, which I was really looking forward to using, but it's actually quite anticlimactic. You just kind of squeeze it together and then leave it. So I left that overnight. Finally, day 4 has arrived and it's time to see if my sketchbook is everything that I hoped it would be. So let's take a look. Undo all of my wing nuts. I think somebody at school used to call me wing nut. My ears. I grew into them eventually, mostly. Which side to take it up? Oh, there we go. It's a little bit stuck. Huh. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh my goodness, it's stuck in there. Oh, there we go. Oh, what do you think of that? It looks like a book. How's the spine? I quite like the little pattern on the front. It's very simple, but I think it's cute. Opens like a book. Can you see here? It's just reflecting a little bit there. I think that's where the glue has soaked all the way through the paper. So I don't know if I'd be able to paint on that. I think it would probably reject it. But maybe, I'm not going to do this now because I need to get this video finished. But maybe I could put make a little envelope there to put extra little bits in. And I think that's really cute. As a first homemade sketchbook, I'm very, very pleased with myself. And when I finish this, I'm definitely going to make more. Well, let's see if it holds together first. If it breaks, then maybe not. But I think it looks and feels very sturdy. And how many pages do I have in there? 10 pages. And on these ones with the gaps, I could do a sketch on here and a sketch on here. And then I can do a full page there. And it lies flat as well. Excellent. Very happy with that. Oh, by the way, very impressed with this Temu kit. I can't remember exactly how much it was. It was about 40 euros, I think. I'm going to put the price here. That's going to be getting quite a lot of use out of me, I'm pretty sure. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video, and I hope it's inspired you to make your own sketchbooks, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye!